Hey, what's up guys, it's your boy Patience, and I decided to come at you guys with a little new one. In this one I wanted to show you guys what Hurston and Arc Corp looks like from the orbit of Yela with your naked eyes. It's actually the most majestic visual you'll ever see, and it is actually possible to see these systems, but I don't think it's actually possible to see microtech. So that's something I might try to say for you guys with another video, guys. This is a continuation from the previous upload where I apprehended the previous ship that was holding all those blooming weapons, and at the moment it stands to reason I would still like to see more guns inserted or implemented upon the C1, which is becoming my favorite ship the more and more I kind of play with it, use it for my expeditions. Though I find it is a cargo vessel, medium freight I believe, at least it's known to be a medium freight vessel. I tend to find I use it a lot more for expedition purposes, because I like to go around surveying or patrolling the Stanton system and ensuring that the nine tails are kept in place and in check. On top of that, once I've done enough and I've apprehended their weapons, even commandeered their spaceships to put down whatever bad guys might be kind of resisting authority and the law, then as well what I do is I confiscate any cargo that they may be hauling, that it be illegal or whatever means, because clearly they're not responsible enough to be hauling or continuing with such duties, because their interest surely is indulging or meddling with crime. But anywho, after I've done with all of that stuff, then what I like to do is just meddle down a little bit and just take in the visuals, the sights of the verse of Stanton, or the system of Stanton. Here I'm on Yela, and the sun is actually on the rise, so we're seeing a beautiful sunrise, a beautiful morning here on Yela. And it's when I take to the skies that we really begin to see just how gorgeous this world actually is. When they do bring in self-build, I probably will like to create a nice little base here on this world, and I most certainly would like to rent a little apartment somewhere, probably in the Horizon system, or probably in I'll probably do it in Arc Corp. But I would like to buy an apartment, maybe in microtech, depending on how that goes in the future. But as you can see, the sun is rising and peaking atop on these mountain tops, which is looking just amazing. You won't really find this in many other titles out there to such a level. It's pristine, it's gorgeous, it's beautiful. You just don't get any better than this, guys. And I can cruise at multiple knots, I guess you could say, or meters per second, so as to achieve reaching large distances in short moments of time. Speed is something that needs to be addressed in this title, I believe, for sure. If anyone is familiar with my previous uploads, I do go in detail with talking about quantum drives and where that sits in the system of things. I go into detail with talking about inertia and how I believe that works. And I go into detail with talking about the expanse of the universe, or if you don't want to go that large, talking about the expanse of space or the Stanton system, and how we would measure speed within that, so as to not only give speed onto players but to control it and to maintain it. So these are some of the things that I've spoken about, and some of the things that I will re-upload about, speaking about, which I think we would all like to get to know. The brightest spot in the sky there, I believe, is selling. So I'm going to double back on that in just a moment. As we go up into orbit, we'll be able to get a clearer, more substantial visual of that. But as you can see here, on the nose of my vessel would be selling, which is a very kind of mucky looking world. I say mucky, it looks like a clump of clay, or like an iron ball, I guess you could say. It's not as interesting as Yella. So as we can see here, as we get the sky view of Yella, it's just amazing. It's the magenta blue, the soft tones, the soft touches, the atmosphere, the way the light hits. The beauty is second to none. If I was to actually go ahead and state, the only beauty I could actually match this to would be the treasure of my heart, of course, which is the only beauty that could actually top this. But if I was able to, this would be a perfect jewel to be placed upon such beauty, and that's how I like to express myself when it comes to things like this. And it's also how I like to think when I'm playing these kind of titles. How do you measure beauty? Do you measure by what you see or by what you know? And in this instance, that's how I tend to measure it my darn self. It's like looking at the prettiest smile you've ever seen, or the prettiest scent you've ever smelt, or the prettiest touch you've ever felt. And that's what this is right here, guys. It's the complement to that, as it were. If you could just place it on someone's necklace and situate it up around their neck and just look at that person, it's like perfection to another level. And that's what's being created here before us, guys. The beauty of life. And it's times like this when I like to get my hands onto my keyboard and mouse, or my HOTASes, or my control pad, and just take that moment to kind of open up my mind, broaden up my mind, and think that there's a holy creator out there, a heavenly father that created this world, these kinds of worlds in reality, for whatever means or whatever purpose. Was it for the purpose of humankind? Because if the world was to become overcrowded one day, overpopulated, was it purposed for us to one day be able to venture out and live upon one of these worlds one day? As the universe is just, there's so many worlds scattered around the starry dust and the starry expanse. Were we supposed to be so treasured with love that we would spread out and fill these worlds, so that the Holy Father could just hear one beautiful cheer and one beautiful cry of love that would always, for all eternity, sing out to him? Or are they just barren worlds that we just look upon as we long towards them with our loved ones? So that's something that I really would do wish that CIG would bring into this title, would be those devices where you can look out into space and stargaze. Telescopes. I would really like to have a telescope so I could fly onto something like Yela and just look out at Hurston and read the star map, because that's something that I've always wanted to do in real life, and it's something that I still want to do. So it'd be nice if I could at least achieve that partially within virtual reality as well. Obviously we know that beauty is something that you can only express with one word, especially when it's measured on such a scale, and comparing to of such, and that would be love. You kind of got to say to yourself, this is kind of how I think when I'm just drifting through space like this and I'm enjoying what I'm seeing, is love is an expressive notion, And when you kind of look at Yela here, and you can see the atmosphere on Earth, babies are born. There's different sizes of people, different multitudes of people, languages, tongues, etc. And there's not too much oxygen for either one of us, and there's not too much carbon dioxide. We're able to speak to each other, we're able to communicate with each other, we're able to touch each other, we're able to be intimate with each other, mentally, physically, including sexually, which is how we're able to spawn new, you could almost go as far as to say replicas of ourselves, babies, which I think is beautiful. That expression just goes to show love. So we know that if there was a Holy Father out there, I personally believe there is, that he went the extra mile to show us what love actually is, and that he does actually care for us. So for whatever reason he's not able to communicate with us, directly, it must be a very serious matter and a very serious notion, because the love that he's left behind for us, has not dwindled or faded in any way. I also like to think at times like this, that the imprint on Yella is just so peaceful and marvelous. But we know that if you look at my C1 here, I have guns attached to it, as if I'm expecting danger. There are little outposts scattered about here, but I'd like to take a minute here, guys, and you can see like these little dots that just appeared in the screen, the brightest dots. That is Arc Corp, guys. That's what I wanted to bring out here. We can actually see Arc Corp from the orbit of Yela, and in just a moment, as I sling this camera or hookshot this camera around my vessel, we're gonna get to see the damn near almighty glory of Hurston and all her pride as well, guys. There she is, in the top left, not the top left, but the upper left side of Stanton, the star of the system. We can actually see Hurston, and we can see Arc Corp. I'm pretty sure we cannot see Microtech, because Microtech is the other side of the system, so it's too far out. But I will try and highlight these spots later on in the video, just so we can see it a little bit more clearly, and I will kind of like create my directory, so it's as if I'm going to jump to the wall, just to reassure us that that is actually Hurston we're looking at, guys. But anyway, we know that the Holy Father is an intricate being. How do we know this? Because there's so many religions on the planet. I personally believe that each religion, this is just my own personal way of looking at things, I believe that each religion on the planet is another aspect of God's personality. We know that he passed on religion to humankind, and each aspect of humankind has some form of religion and bound to its culture. And I personally believe that being the loving father that he is, or that he was, he passed on many aspects of his life onto us. So as we begin to learn of him in our own nations and in our own tongues, we're also getting to know aspects of him. So when we begin to integrate and merge and blend with each other, we begin to create a wholesome picture of the Holy Father. But obviously we know that in this time and age that we live in, life is a bit more unfruitful and I'll go with unfruitful to us, as unfortunately we do have the that concept that there's aspects of religion that's right and there's aspects of religion that's wrong. Like, for instance, your religion might be wrong, my one might be right. My point to this would be, if you was a stranger, a spaceman, and you went flying to Earth, how would you feel you would be greeted? Do you think you would be treated fairly? Do you think you would be in danger? Do you feel like you would be loved, welcomed? Who are the people that you live beside? I personally feel like I would be loved and welcomed, because I wouldn't necessarily say there's many people on this planet culturally that would make me feel resented, or make me feel neglected, or make me feel outcasted in any way. Obviously Earth has had a history, but along with that history has come a future, and the future is being pretty bright from the experience of Earth. And coming to Earth, I feel like it would be an enlightening one, knowing that people has gone through many tribulations and being able to come together, and for the Holy Father looking upon us, how that would make him feel. Quite obviously he would be somewhat disappointed, seeing that we have had to struggle, that we have had to go through such tribulations just to get along with each other. But through getting along with each other and mixing and mingling will probably be the best way of us getting to know our Holy Father more, because from one aspect of religion, this is what he's like, and from another aspect of religion, this is what he's like, and from that aspect, that's what he's like. So it would be like kind of going to Earth and spending time with a bunch of different cultures as a alien spaceman, and once each of these alien cultures mix and mesh between each other, expressing their experience with each other, I'm pretty sure their experience is going to be the same. It's going to be slightly different from the same, simply because how one person might engage with you might not be exactly the same as how another person might engage with you. And taking this stuff into consideration, being an onlooker, I guess I would be the onlooker. How would I feel if I saw people's kind of like treating each other, or a certain crowd of people kind of like outcasting the rest of the others, or maybe threatening the others, because we're threatened with wars. You'll find wars on the planet, and most wars are due to irrelevant stuff. And we will find people treating other people unfairly or unjustly, and other people, living cliche lives, I guess you could say, morally or hygienically. How that would make me feel, being a longing onlooker that's finally returned, and seeing the habits that we as humans may have, not just with ourselves but with other people. So I like to think like this, and how that may or may not help our relationship towards our Holy Father. I don't necessarily believe he's a vengeful person, ironically, though that's what's always expressed and described of him within many religious books. I personally believe that he's an open-hearted individual, and in this instance it will be spiritual. And understanding that humans have been departed and kind of like kind of torn away from such love, then yeah, I think that he would be understanding to the fact that we are bound to make mistakes. We are going to make mistakes. I guess he would see, I guess at times I feel like he'd probably be very unhappy with seeing how we may treat each other, and the things that we're likely to accept, when like bad or harm is distributed onto us, and in times of need or desperation we may accept these kind of living circumstances, such as trying to understand why a government may be going to war, and we know that war usually affects the Commonwealth people. When I say Commonwealth, the people of the common land, not necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily say not the wealthy, but people of the common living arrangement, people that do go out and, I guess you would call us the consumers of life. these people are the ones that are likely to be affected by such things, and so it's not nice treating your subjects in such ways. It's, you know, you're taking on like a kingly role, as it were, but you treat people in such disregard, disrespect. How that would make him feel, because it's almost like saying that okay, my pups have left home, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take up the helm. But instead of treating the home like a loving home, like how he did it, you kind of tarnish it and threaten people, because if things don't go my way, I'm going to do things this way, and you're going to immediately go running for your little weapons and, you know, start threatening mass weapons of destruction kind of speech. So how that would make him feel, especially if he's not a vengeful person at heart, the way how he's usually described. The reason being is because if we're really all that bad and all that naughty of peoples, why did he leave us living so happily with oxygen and with such beautiful people surrounded with us? So it's things like that that I kind of think about. I try to open up my mind, broaden my mind in kind of reason, and you know, like taking these things into consideration. Who does that make us as individuals? So that's why I like playing these kind of titles, guys. The things like this that you will probably and more than likely see on a few of my uploads, not necessarily Star Citizen, but more than likely my Space Engine uploads. That's where I usually like to kind of open up in my spiritual side of myself, and I like to share that with you guys, not necessarily for any kind of reaction, but I guess you could say in any case help those in need to open up their minds a bit more, so as to know how to look and search for things that they may not know how to prior, and for those that do know how to kind of like investigate into their own selves or to anyone else and say, well, this is what I feel, and this is probably a nice way to look at things. This is probably why I don't look at things this ways. But being able to express not necessarily religion, but all aspects of life, being able to express, because that's what if you ask me, titles such as these bring out. It brings out the beauty. Because you can't make such beauty if you don't know it, guys. And the only thing that I would measure this title to would be that of I guess you would say the beautifulest smile I've ever seen in my entire life, and it melts my heart every time, and that's how I feel every time I get onto this title. I feel like it melts my insides every time, because I'm always at awe with what I'm looking at. And that's like the expression of love. Obviously, love could be another aspect that we take into consideration. Being an onlooker, you'd be sitting back from a distance, and you might see over this side of the corner of the world, people seem to be happy, but over in that side, people get together, but it doesn't seem to be as happy or long-lasting or as fruitful. Why is this? And obviously he would know the answers, but for whatever reason he's unable to engage with us. Now, it's easy to come up with any kind of negative aspects as to say why he is or is not able to react and respond to us, but it's not always easy to kind of look at the good and say there must be a reason why he's unable to reach out to us. And whatever that reason is, I wish he could, because he would be the perfect person to help me in these times of need or crisis, or, you know, whatever it is. So that's how I like to look at it. Sometimes people might get in a relationship and feel like, oh, this relationship is not exactly what I thought it would have been when I first got into it, and why is it that I'm not as happy as that person over there? And that might be a way on a relationship, rather than a kind of like like an encouraging boost as to, you know, like oh, they're doing okay, we're not doing that okay. That would be a nice people to get to know, because they might have hidden secrets that might help rekindle this relationship, or might bring a bloom to this relationship, or might help me to see what it was I actually saw when I first got into this relationship in this person, you know. And that's the aspects that I look at, and that's what the Holy Father created. He didn't just create the beautiful wonders in the heavens. He didn't just create the wonderful celestial bodies, but he created the heavenly earth that contains a bunch of people upon it, just one world that accumulates life that we know of amidst all the other worlds that are out there that we're able to visually I guess you could say put under our scalpel and kind of surgically interrogate, so as to see if there's any other life forms out there that we can communicate with. So taking these things into consideration is what I mean about who are we as individuals, as I guess you could say partners and communities and cultures. Who are we? What will he find when he comes back, or if he should come back and meets us? Will he find a bunch of people that he will be satisfied with, or will he be disappointed, namely with the ways that we may at times treat each other? I personally believe if he were to be disappointed, it's because he knows that we can be a lot better than what we may be performing at the level that we may be performing at, because most people that I've come to know, this will be online, in person, in my family, friends, and workmates, most people has been more than loving, kind, and exactly what I'd expect from any kind of human. There's only been a rarity within a certain batch, I guess you could say, that would leave me with open questions that I find hard to answer, and I don't get any answers for or from anyone to help me kind of find a settlement as to, oh, that's why this person might be weird, or that's why this person might be playing up, or that's why they don't mind seeing a bunch of people having to cope with a certain lifestyle and think it's just totally fine or okay, or why it's okay to be that airheaded. So that's why I kind of like I would like kind of like say, if you want to get to know me more as not just someone that's publishing on YouTube, because anyone can publish on YouTube, but you would like to get to know me more as an individual, then I do have other stations out there where you can kind of get to understand my reasoning and kind of get to understand who I be, the kind of stuff that I'm into aside from 2D 3D applications such as these, and it's also what I'd expect from anyone that's entertained by my goods. If you're that interested in my stuff, then leave an open invitation as so I could go through and see what kind of stuff that you be publishing, comments. That's why these stuff are kind of interesting, because I get to see what kind of people I be attracting as to why I be attracting you, because yes, I do publish my stuff for the ones that I hold close and dear. I publish for those that are very interested in the content that I publish, but it's also interesting to know why you would show an interest in my publish rather than someone else's. Is it just due to the play style? Would it be also due to who it is you're getting to know as more than just a publisher, or because of just simply common interest? But anyway, guys, that's what I tend to find, how my mind opens up when I come onto these kind of things. It does get quite spiritual. It does get quite I wouldn't necessarily say political, but it does get quite quite deep, and so chilling with me can be an experience when I do decide to open up on a lot of these kind of applications. Like I said, Space Engine will be one of them. If you do not know Space Engine, be sure to go check it out. It's one of my favorite space sims, but you will find me on Star Citizen more than likely than ever, simply because I actually completed my Mass Effect playthrough, guys, and I was playing my Tomb Raider playthrough, but I was unable to complete the whole franchise because I lost taste, unfortunately. but it is one of my favorite games, and I will probably explain that a little bit more on my Tomb Raider side of things, but that's for a later date. Selling will be just another world that I can explore entirely, which I feel is amazing, which is what I also call open world. I wouldn't necessarily go as far to say sandbox, guys, simply because I personally believe a sandbox is when you have a galaxy. What do I mean by that? That would be something similar to Elite Dangerous or Space Engine, where you can actually visit every single world within a galaxy, and scour the entire world as well, and like freely jump to any other world you want to, by any means or by any measure, however you choose to do so. Obviously Space Engine kind of rocks the world there within its own league. Elite Dangerous is obviously set the tone. I say setting the tone. It's an old school game from, I believe, 2013, but it has a skill that is like none other for its time, but it most certainly is within its prime, delivering such high quality goods, and you still get a lot of gamers on that to date. So this is not necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily go as far as to call this an open a sandbox. I'll call this probably like maybe a miniature sandbox, but like an open world, a vast open world title, because most worlds you go on, you can scour the entire world, which is absolutely awesome. I don't know if you can scour the entire an entire space station. There probably may be limits to where you can go as to where you can't go on a space station, at least currently in current patches, but I can go to any single situation on this world. If you ask me, that makes that open world. Free roam, I can only scour the vision that you can see within this output. So what I'm seeing is what I can roam in. Anything outside of that vision I cannot roam. Even though that vision is very huge, I cannot go anywhere because that's what's been limited to me. That is free roam, guys. That has to be known, because when they come out and they say this is open world and you're not scouring the entire world, you're paying for something that you're not getting. If you ask me, it's free roam. Okay, so so you guys have got to kind of broaden out your minds and open up a little bit and understand the difference between free roam, open world, and sandbox. Okay, this is more than likely an open world title, and I guess it could borderline, depending on how desperate you want to be, sandbox, but whatever world you go to, you can scour, but there is not an entire galaxy in this that you can actually go flying to every single freaking world, at least not as far as I'm aware. Maybe in the finished game, but at the moment, not yet. That makes it open world, guys. Okay, if there's only 5, 10, 50, if there's 100 worlds that you can scour through and through, that's open world. If there's a galaxy where you can do the exact same to every single planet on the galaxy, now that is sandbox. So I have found a few bugs, so I would like to kind of address those with a few uploads at some stage. As you can see, selling is a bit more of an iron clump. It looks like a clump of clay. In honesty, it's not as pretty or as beautiful as Yela. It's not as interesting as Daymar, but it's certainly a part of the system, because without it, what do you have? They did used to have Dalamar, and I felt like Dalamar was a very interesting world, especially the more they began to implement upon it. And this world actually looks like how it did in its first stages. You had all those kind of erecting projectiles from the ground, and which I used to like kind of flying in and out of, weaving in and out of. And then you had Vesky, of course, which was another nice little station that you could go to and do little business transactions, etc. But that is no longer part of the system. So Nyx is something that I really can't wait for, though I haven't even been to Pyro yet, because I haven't kind of clarified the wonders of the Stanton system to that point of satisfaction within my darn self yet. So I'm already at that phase where I'm beginning to think, I wonder, could CIG actually be working faster than my own curiosity here, or am I literally just in disbelief? So I don't know at the moment, but Nyx is certainly a system that I'm looking forward to, simply because of Dalamar. I really want that one back. And then obviously the Terror system, which is on the horizon, they seem to be saying as well. But as you can see, it really is just a clump of clay, guys. I call it the iron jaw of the system. It does look good, but there's no real standout feature to it. And I do like the soft atmosphere, but it is a lot of grey. There's a lot of grey going on. Daymar is a little bit more interesting. It does have a little bit more vibrancy going on, and Yellow obviously is the favour of this system, I would have to say so my darn self. And Crusader being the king, with the almighty enlightenment of Stanton reigning over all the systems. My favourite system, I think, is Arc Corp. But I think the best is probably Microtech. And I can't wait to check out the Pyro system. But anyway, guys, you tell me what you think about what you're seeing on the screen right here, right now. But from here, guys, I will continue. I believe I'm heading towards a mission. So there are a few aspects about this that I would like to bring out, and that's how we do our mission. Obviously at the moment I have to keep turning off my guns, because if I don't, I feel like it bugs. This is not 4.0.2, this is 4.0.1. And I feel like this bug has persisted over into 4.0.2, so I don't know if gamers have been talking about this one, so to highlight it for CIG, but the team over there needs to be addressed ASAP, I would have to say. But from Yela, I'm heading back over into the Yella direction. I think I'm heading over to Daymar to deal with a bounty. Obviously I've stated that you have to be careful when trying to do your bounties in a C1, because if there's land turrets, you will be hoisted out of the sky in a very wrathful manner, and obviously no one takes to the sky just to be slung out of it by sheer unwillingness. So the idea is to stay in the sky as long as possible, and only to land on desired world, guys, and that's my intention right here. So I'm heading over to Daymar the best way I know how to. Obviously I've got to use one of these jump points. What do I think about these jump points? I feel like the jump points could be done a little bit better. I would actually prefer if there were no jump points my darn self, but you just used a certain location or a certain pinpoint whenever you needed a pinpoint. So like you would say you jump into Crusader, and because we got voice over IP or whatever it goes, but you can use your voice, so you just say I want to jump to Daymar, or you just say Daymar, so Daymar's highlighted, and you jump towards Daymar. Like we got Toby eye tracking now, so you know, kind of like Iron Man, you can just kind of like pinpoint and touch where you want to go in the airspace, but the game registers your pinpoint as a touch space. So I believe there could be a lot more practicality, ingenuity, a model or feature in the jump system. Obviously I don't personally like jumping all over the place. As you look at the starry heavens, it's so beautiful, it's so amazing, it's so gorgeous. You just can't stop saying these things because it's so darn true. But when we go and start putting jumping mechanisms all over the place, it takes away that that awe inspiration that we like to spend our time kind of gazing upon. It's like drawing a picture, a poster, but you kind of like, you know, cover your eye with a pinhole visual socket, so all you can see is what the pinhole allows you to see. You miss the whole entirety. You're just focusing on that one little segment, and I believe that's a very unfortunate way to look at a picture, an artistic picture. I think it's a very unfortunate way to travel through space. But as you can see, I've reached my destination. Traveling to this destination, though they've implemented speed, it still takes a very long time. So I have to go into my quantum device, which is very tedious. It shuts down my weapons, it shuts down everything. I guess in a very retro way, you can say, yes, it is very fun, it's very clunky, though you're in like a futuristic looking featured ship. You're still getting around as if you're in a space shuttle, which is pretty awesome in its own way, depending on how you want to look at it, of course. So as you can see, I'm cruising up to my mission here, and the idea is to take out the bad guys. Now, as you know, I'm working with a bunch of quad 3s, which I'm not really too satisfied with my darn self. I would like if my MFDs kept their functionality, so as to say, if I said these two are my main focus screens, I don't want that to change. If I go into my hangar room, if I turn my ship off, or if my ship gets destroyed and given back to me, I want to keep the same, maybe not if the ship gets damaged and given back to me, but I want to keep the same formation, the same functionality, because that's how I like it, and that's why I set it. I don't want to have to set short keys just to get the MFDs back. If I turn my TV off, in the modern age, like today, if I turn my TV off and I turn it back on, it's usually on the same channel that I left it on, guys. So I would expect that with my MFDs. It ain't nothing you know, demanding. It's not this is basic general. I like the way how I dodged that missile there, but basic general knowledge here, guys. So that's what I would expect. So I think I do actually pre-own this battle. I've actually got neat shields. I spent an arm and a leg on an upgrade, and the upgrade was worse than this because my shields only read 12, and they don't really hold out all that good either. So but this one seems to be getting battered. So the shields that I did recently have before the 4.2 patch was actually better than these in that regard, I can state, because I'd be going against these kind of guys all the time and they don't be causing so much damage. I can see that actually hitting my hole here. But yeah, as you can see, space battle, planet side, world side, on the moon is not bad. Because we're on the moon, I would expect a little bit more functionality with me, the astropilot, and my vessel, the ship. But I'm being clearly outmaneuvered by these two guys, and I feel like my vessel will probably be a lot lighter when I go into Daymar. I can jump twice as high as I can normally, so my vessel's likely to be a lot more agile, a lot more swift, a lot more maneuverable, but I don't get the sense of that at the moment. So that's my point about the flight model. Everyone keeps talking about the flight model. I feel like the flight model is exactly the same. I don't feel any difference with the flight model at all. And so what I would like to see or feel would be a little bit more diversity with the flight models, like for this looks bad. Yeah, that didn't look so good. But anywho, it would be, you know, if I go to a moon that has like maybe less than 1g gravity, I actually feel that response with my ship. I have a bonding relationship with my ship. If I go deep out galactic space, I'm just as agile as a light fighter, one of the best light fighters. And if I'm on a world that has, you know, like extraordinary gravity, so like we're talking about, I don't know, 5g gravity, so 5 times the amount of pressure than we're usually used to, I would expect to feel a hell of a lot more sluggish. If I'm on Earth or on a world that's similar to Earth, or very similar, then I would expect what I'm seeing on screen now, kind of very sluggish, etc, etc, etc. But my engines don't feel more powerful. I don't feel like I'm getting more energy out of them being here on Daymar as to being on Yela or as to being on Selene. I feel like I'm on Crusader, and I'm pretty sure Crusader's got a very, 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 very strong gravity chain. So taking these things into consideration, obviously I'm in a star system as well, so flying around in a star system and, you know, like kind of dogfighting in a star system, there's gonna be gravity, guys. But anyway, it's your boy Patience. Hope you like what you be seasoning hers, and if you did,